It's like you need me to make fun of you.
The Percy Jackson movie has been described as many things. A piece of trash, a spit in the face to fans, the Dragon Ball evolution of book adaptations, and better than the TV show by some. I think the movie as a movie actually isn't that bad, but as a book adaptation it's absolute trash. I think that the movie was almost great and with some changes could have stood the test of time. Now normally in videos I talk about the changes from the book to the show/movie, but considering how different the movie was, what am I supposed to say? Every single moment is different. That'd be a boring ass video. So I decided to do something different. I am going to rewrite the movie to make it more similar to the books and hopefully better, and as a Percy Jackson fan, I hope I can accomplish this. I want to start with the big changes to the characters so you get to see how I see them and why I made the changes I did. Then I'll do a scene-by-scene description of the rewrite. Spoilers for Percy Jackson. Got it? Good. Let's get started. Firstly, Percy himself. He really is watered down in this movie. He's nothing like his book counterpart. He's just a generic 2000s VA hero. I want to bring back the sass and the rebellious nature. In my show comparison, I made a complaint that Percy being rude to the gods isn't emphasized enough. But honestly, I can't even make that complaint about this movie, as there's barely any gods for Percy to interact with. Like, okay, I get the idea they didn't want to introduce Kronos because they thought it was a standalone movie and Kronos is more of an overarching villain. Fair, I will keep to this idea. I mean, they really should have stuck to that because what the fuck is this monstrosity? But that is a topic for another video. However, I stand on business when I say they should have kept Dionysus and Ares. They are actually important to the world building, so I will be bringing them back into the story. Especially since the movie actually did do a good job of making the gods feel godlike. They are grand, powerful beings that often portray gigantically. Although if I'm being honest, they should have had more variety in their design. I should be able to tell which god is which, not feel like I accidentally stumbled into a work toga party. Like, which god is this? What about this one? No fucking clue. Another thing I'll be changing is that Hades is a villain. It's so boring and generic. I never liked that except for in Disney's Hercules. Just keep it as a misunderstanding and you get a plot twist. If you need to make any god a villain, which I think you should, it is obviously Ares. In the books, Ares has a plan. Create chaos to start the biggest war that would be his masterpiece. It turns out he was being manipulated by Kronos. If you remove that aspect of the idea, it could still work. The god of war wanting the ultimate war is not a hard sell. I'll explain later how it'd be so easy to implement. Hades is one of my favourite gods in Percy Jackson, and while I appreciate they at least partially tried to keep the fear factor, I'm looking at you, Goatman, they still made him look like a British punk rock singer past his prime. Like, just don't make him evil and don't make him lame. It's not that hard. Another part I'll be changing is the whole Pearl plot. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you can't base a whole movie on the idea that Persephone is an adulterer. I'm not kidding, her whole character is just she's horny. She spreads pearls across the country for her lovers.
She keeps pearls hidden for them all over the world, and these pearls, they provide a quick escape from the underworld.
And gathering them is the main focus of almost a third of the movie. Explain this to me, I might be stupid. She spreads them out so her lovers can visit her and leave without her husband finding out. Firstly, why? Just give them the pearls. Are you saying that every single one of her lovers needed to fight Medusa in order to bed her? I'm out.
I'll take very good care of him.
Okay, I'm back in, but you are making me put in a whole lot of work. I might be tired when I get there and you won't get my A game, so it'll be disappointing for both of us. Honestly, just hit me up in spring when you're back above ground. We're removing all that trash. But anyway, back to the main point before I get demonetized. The plot change that I consider to be the biggest weakness of the movie. They drive everywhere. Yes, I'm aware what you might be thinking, there are bigger issues, but hear me out. It turns the story from Hitchhiker's Guide to Greek mythology to a boring fetch quest mission in Skyrim. There is a magic map that tells them where to go, they drive there, fight boss number 6, get a pearl, rinse and repeat. It's such a weak way to get from scene to scene. I am going to go back to the rat race travel by any means vibe. Now Annabeth, she is going to go through some major changes. They took everything that is unique about her character, surgically removed it and replaced it with horny eyes for Percy and flirty banter. Now no complaints about the horny eyes. Blue eyes, dark hair is my weakness. If that is you, drop your Instagram in the comments. But come on, this is not Annabeth in any sense. She has no battle wit, which is Annabeth's defining feature. A perfect example of this is Annabeth uses daggers. It is clearly stated in the books that there is a reason she uses that as her weapon. It shows her intelligence, that she needs to be quick both in movement and decision making. Most people can't use daggers, but she can because she's different. It also perfectly aligns with her hat of invisibility, which does not exist in this movie. In the movie, they literally give her every weapon but her daggers till like the end for like 5 seconds. At this point, just give her a machine gun and be done with it. She is even more bland than Percy is, and could literally have been replaced with Camper 365 and it would have made little to no difference. Also, combining her character with Clarissa only exasperates the problem, as she is the one that fights him in Capture the Flag. In my version, Annabeth is going to be more like Anna from Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing. Fierce, smart, but with a soft side. And she will only be using her daggers. Now Grover. I ain't gonna lie or sugarcoat it. I kinda love this version of Grover. For the most part. Upon watching it again for research for this video, I realised why I liked it and more importantly why he felt so familiar. He's doing a Chris Tucker impression. Let me show you what I mean.
Is that really necessary?
And your friend.
Any girl?
Any girl.
Rush Hour holds a special place in my heart, and Chris Tucker is an absolute legend. Don't get me wrong, a lot of Grover's jokes don't land in this movie.
Is it me or is it raining cows?
But it is a fun, if not accurate, interpretation of this character. He's sort of a breath of fresh air in a movie full of bland characters. I like that he's loyal and competent, plus throwing tins at a Hydra is probably the most book accurate thing this movie does. But if I'm being real, if I had to describe him in one word, it would be horny. Like, he goes to hit on Aphrodite's daughter and the ending with Persephone? I mean, when horny meets horny, you get, well, likely a half goat, half god baby. I wonder what sort of demigod would be born from that. I will be keeping him the same for the most part, but I'm going to dial down the horniness by like 40%. Okay, so now that my main criticisms are out of the way, I'm going to tell you how I would do the movie. Feel free to let me know in the comment sections below if you agree, disagree, and what changes you'd make. I will be making my suggestions based on the idea that this is a standalone movie. So I'm not going to be like, make it exactly like the books and make it 5 movies long. No, let's pretend you get 1 movie, that's it. Okay, Poseidon and Zeus meet to discuss the deadline and the idea that Percy is an illegal child. Now, I really like this scene. I think it does a great job of creating tension with the weather changes and the dynamic between the two brothers. That being said, I wouldn't start the movie with it. I would put a similar scene to it after the Minotaur attack. In the books, Percy can dream of Kronos. Now, Kronos isn't in this movie, but the concept can still be there. Show Percy dreaming of the interaction where Zeus is pissed off because he just found out about the fact that Poseidon has had a child that he's been keeping from him. Escalates the situation and gives him the deadline. This helps to explain not only why he randomly suspects Poseidon, but also why the quest has to happen now. I also don't think this has to happen at the Empire State Building. I think this would have been a better reveal for later, just have Zeus appear as a lightning bolt on the beach and Poseidon can come out and walk out of the sea with his transformation. For the opening of my rewrite, I will be stealing from the TV show. Use the iconic opening from the book as a voiceover while showing Percy growing up around the magic of mythology.
My name is Percy Jackson. I'm 12 years old.
Cut the pool scene out, I'm pretty sure that was only there for trailer bait. Also cut the scene of them at the classroom, it adds nothing. What I'm imagining is we go straight from the childhood scene into them at the museum. Now this can be kept pretty similar, except I think the fact that Percy uses his powers is important to bring back in, as it explains why Darbs decided to attack then. Darbs leads Percy away, attacks him, and I would keep the idea that Percy killed the Fury, not that she runs away because she's scared of wheelchair horseboy. I was always working under the assumption that in a game of rock paper monsters Fury beats Centaur personally, but whatever. Chiron doesn't try to lie to Percy like in the books, but also doesn't tell him anything. He just tells Grover to take him home, at which point they turn around and Percy's already gone. Insert a Grover joke here like, I thought you were watching him, that kind of thing. Now this is where we get the scene with Gabe, which can be pretty much kept the same. I think the idea of blue food and them going to the cabin should be kept from the books. I'll explain later why. Once they were in the car about to drive away, Grover jumps under the car and is like, we've got to go. And Sally changes the destination to the camp after recognizing Grover. I think this scene works well because it's very early 2000s, so it'll fit well into the movie. Either way, we can then keep pretty much everything the same up until Percy being taken to camp. Percy fights the Minotaur, Sally turns to dust, and Percy collapses after the fight. Now, like I said, this is where I would introduce the Zeus and Poseidon scene. Once we wake up in camp, I would have Chiron already there with Grover, have them talk and explain the situation with the gods and the world. Get that bit over with. They can do the exposition in the cabin, just have him go straight to Poseidon's cabin as they already know who he is. Also, very importantly, I would have Percy be way sadder about his mum. Like, they really brush past the trauma of a wildebeest crushing your mum to dust, just making jokes and exploring. Grover is like, sorry you're sad buddy, but look, there's hot women here. Now, I think this is where Grover introduces Percy to Luke. as Poseidon doesn't have a camp leader, so Luke volunteered. When we meet him, I want him to be running a training session. This does two things thematically. One, Luke is the first person that Percy meets who's actually from this world, making him an important figure in the story. Two, by having him run the training session, it establishes Luke as a strong warrior and a leader, which makes his betrayal later more significant. Also, I don't want this cheeky Luke stuff. I want him to be like if Captain America was a surfer. Chilled, but with this charisma of being a leader and very straight-laced. This is also the point where we see Annabeth, but we don't meet her yet. I want her to be fighting Clarissa. Yes, I'm bringing her back into the story. I don't see the purpose of making Annabeth being the one that fights Percy, so Clarissa's back off the bench. Percy then asks about the two girls and why are they fighting so hard. Luke says the winner gets you and capture the flag. This also establishes both girls as strong warriors, not only allowing Annabeth to shine, but also making Percy's win against Clarissa more significant. Percy then asks what is capture the flag, and we switch over to the next scene of them at the event. This is where the story plays out pretty identically to the books. Percy's attacked by Clarissa and the Ares kids, however what I'm changing is that Annabeth does step in to help Percy. A lot of the bit from the book is still kept, like Percy's getting whooped and then he steps into the river and gets a power up and then is able to fight. But Annabeth does step in. Percy fights Clarissa while Annabeth fights the Ares kids. It establishes them as a team and shows that they work well together. Luke then appears with the flag and says that Annabeth's plan worked. Now we know in the original book Clarissa was hunting Percy because of the bathroom scene, which I have not included because I don't think it really adds a lot. They can really easily work around that. Just say that Clarissa had the mentality which is like, if I can't have him on my side, I want to test myself against a child of the big three. They're meant to be more powerful. I'm a child of Ares, so I want to be powerful. I want to see how I do. And Annabeth knew this, so she calculated it into her plans, but at the same time wouldn't leave Percy out to dry. Now another scene they cut from the movie is the trident appearing over Percy's head. Okay, look, I understand why they cut this, because everyone already knows who Percy is, so it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to keep it in, but it is iconic and I'm bringing it back. Sue me. I am changing the meaning though. In my version, they say that the trident represents Percy being chosen as Poseidon's champion to do the quest for him. This is the point where I'll be combining two characters, the Oracle and Dionysus. Chiron says for Percy to begin his quest, he has to see the camp director and sends him to the attic. I want the attic to look sort of dingy from the outside, but then when Percy comes in, it's like a cool cocktail wine bar. This makes the gods look even more powerful, as even Dionysus can do something like this. Dionysus is drinking by the bar and Percy asks who's the drunk. By drinking, I mean drinking a can of Coke. We're going to keep the whole Zeus isn't letting him drink aspect because I think it's funny. This helps establish the relationship that Percy has with the gods that's from the books. This obviously pisses Dionysus off and he's sort of confrontational to Percy. Still, he tells Percy about the quest and tells him that if he doesn't go along with it, he'll turn him into a dolphin, just like in the books. We then get a little Hades slander to show how the other gods feel about him. Percy figures out that if he's going to Hades, he can save his mum. I wouldn't really include the bit with the prophecy. I don't think it adds a huge amount. As he's leaving for the quest, Annabeth and Grover decides to join him. Now this is where I'm changing a little bit from both the book and the movie. Luke says that he wants to join, but he's been banned from quests as the last time he went on one, it went badly. He also doesn't give Percy the shoes. Honestly, they are sort of pointless unless they're dragging him to Kronos. It doesn't make sense because it actually was useful to Percy in his quest. Now, I do think it would be funny to include a scene where he tries to give Percy the shoes, and once Percy starts flying, a lightning bolt almost hits him. This not only explains why he doesn't take the shoes, but also makes them all realize that they can't use planes to get to their destination. Instead, he gives Percy the pearls to be able to escape Hades, explaining that he got them as a prize for his last quest. Plus a promise that he will support him from afar as the man in the chair. They can have phone calls later, which establishes Luke as more of a friend and also makes the betrayal hit harder later. Plus, getting the pearls out of the way allows them to focus on other things. It wasn't a huge part of the book anyway, and it was so stupid in the movies. Now, obviously, in this version, the pearls don't actually work. Percy tries to use them later, but they fail, which is the point where Luke's betrayal is obvious. They go on their quest, and I will not have them driving, as I said that is lazy. I want a classic Euro trip style story. I'll have them get on a bus, which has a pit stop at one point. They go to a nearby diner to get some food, which turns out to be Medusa's lair. Then the scene can pretty much play out exactly the same, except for 1, no pearls, and 2, they don't keep the head, that was ridiculous, they send it to Olympus. But with the bus leaving them behind, they decide to travel by foot hitchhiking. Now this is where you could include a funny scene of Grover trying to ask a chihuahua for directions as sort of an Easter egg for the book fans. It turns into a one-sided argument as the animal's insulting them and Grover is translating and getting more and more rage baited. I think it'd be kind of a fun way to include Grover's ability to talk to animals, plus is very on brand for the humour of this movie. But moving on, this is where I also will steal a point from the show, although it is basically in the books. Ares rocks up on his motorcycle and tells them that if he helps them with a task, he will give them a ride to Hades and information on how to open the gate to the underworld. The next scene is not the water park, it's actually the Hydra scene. I will be replacing the Hydra scene because I think it's an overused Greek monster. Like, it's the Joker of Greek mythology. Like, yeah, it's super cool, but do we need him in every story? Also, random thought, how did Medusa's head stop the fire? Grover should be in my next goat curry. Like, yes, the head turns living beings into stone, but fire has no eyes. Does that sound like a quote from the wise Uncle Iroh? Absolutely. But the point still stands. Either way, I'll be replacing the monster back to a chimera, and instead of pearls, they'll be trying to get Ares' shield. Now, obviously, battle scene, chaos ensues, but they get the shield and they give it to Ares. This is where Percy can be a dick to him as he didn't warn them about the monster. He tells them about the zoo van, gives them a bag with supplies, which you know what happens there, and tells them that the key they seek to the underworld is in the Lotus Hotel, a phrase to open the door. This gives Percy more opportunity to interact with gods and shows that he's built different in his interactions with them. But basically at this point they've almost completed the steps they need for the quest. They then go into the van and they get out outside the Lotus Hotel. Now I will have the phrase they're looking for just by the door entrance, almost like a password or a phrase to get in. But we all know that it's not easy to leave the Lotus Hotel. They start to forget, have some fun like in the movie, maybe without the dance scene. Or you know what, fuck it, keep it in. Magic Mike is popular and the actors look like they're having fun. Now this part is important to me. In both the movie and the TV show, Percy has help figuring out the Lotus Hotel's secret.
Percy, don't eat the flower.
Fuck that. In my version, he goes back to the book and solves it himself. I never understood this change. But I will be changing how he figures it out. In the book, he sees a guy who's like a hippie and realizes he has no idea what year it is. In my version, Percy will see some blue food which will remind him of his mother and the quest. He then goes to gather the other two, also breaks them free, and they steal a car to drive to the Hollywood sign, just like in the movie. Now I know I said no driving, but this part is the exception as in the book they basically take a taxi for the rest of the way there, so I will let them drive this last part. After this, the movie plays out pretty much the same until they meet Hades. You got the river Styx, Hades' palace, they meet Cerberus. But they won't be meeting Persephone by the door, but the Fury that Percy killed earlier who tells them that Hades has been waiting for them. Now, you'll notice I cut Hades out of the movie earlier because I thought it was incredibly stupid, attacking the camp as a giant Luciferian creature. We do not need that trash in my movie. Why would you piss off all other gods by literally almost killing their children? And in my version, Hades isn't a villain, so it wouldn't make any sense. The whole thing was dumb. In my version, Hades is a badass. Think Thanos on his throne in Guardians of the Galaxy. He and Percy have a chat, and he asks why he has come to his kingdom. Hades then reveals that he never knew who Percy was before. He originally sent the Fury to keep an eye on Sally as he knew that Poseidon cared for her and he knew they had history. He was then surprised to see that Sally had a child, so the Fury stayed in case he was a son of Poseidon. Once Percy used his powers, it confirmed who he was, and that's the point where they tried to kill Percy and the whole story starts. He is an illegal child and Hades didn't want him causing problems. He only took Sally as a hostage in case Poseidon tried to attack him later during the war. This is also the point where we keep to the books. Percy tells him he wants the lightning bolt, Hades is like, I don't have it. This is the point where he reveals that Percy is the one with the lightning bolt. Percy's confused but opens up the bag from Ares to find it there. Another point I'm keeping from the books is I want Hades to talk about how tired he was and how there's too many humans dying. Is it funny? Yes. Do I like it? Yes. Does it add anything narratively? No. But fuck you, this is my story and I'm keeping it. This is also the point where you realize that Hades has kind of been a victim of slander. Like, he's scary but not evil. He doesn't want this war, he feels like he doesn't have time for it, but he is deciding whether to kill Percy or not. I also kind of want a comedic moment here where they try and use the pearls but it doesn't work and they're just standing there staring at him after it doesn't work. Like, he makes a joke, how did they ever make it this far? Now, if you still want some eye candy, you can still have Persephone in the story. She comes in all hot and tanned and dressed up like, oof. And she's like, I like them, don't kill them. Hades then decides it isn't worth the hassle of pissing off both of his brothers, and he sends Percy and the lightning bolt back, with a warning that he still plans to kill him in the future. He still is an illegal child. Either way, they wake up above ground to find Ares, who is angry and confused they made it out. The pearls were never meant to work, they were meant to die down there and start the war. Percy then challenges Ares to a fight, at which point we can have some Ares aura farm. In the books there's this concept that gods can show mortals things, and in Ares' case they can show him great battles and fights and people who have died in his name. They use it as sort of an intimidation factor, and I actually think it would work perfectly here. Do this in the movie with like a cool animated sequence montage. Ares then says this is beneath him as a god, but as he is Poseidon's champion, he can fight his champion. This is where the Luke reveal happens, and he flies in with his shoes to fight Percy. Obviously everyone is sad and surprised and betrayed, especially Annabeth. I'm cutting out all the flying around fighting because I thought that was a bit dumb. I know it got nominated for an award, but it was stupid in my opinion. Luke can fly around a little, but Annabeth throws a dagger to cut his wings. Ares then says the fight is 1-on-1 and frees them all on the spot so they can't move, again showing the power of the gods. This is when it becomes a normal fight between Percy and Luke. I just want some good choreography. I'm thinking like Star Wars prequels meets Troy. Percy wins by using the ocean, just like he did with Ares in the book, but then when Luke loses, Ares is about to step in anyway and take the ball. He's like, you know what, go fuck yourself, I still want it. Now in the books, Ares gets frightened by the aura of Kronos and runs away. I want to keep the essence of this idea without Kronos. The aura is Poseidon, who is more powerful than Ares anyway, so the concept would still work. I wonder if they could like visually show the weight of the sea crushing him into submission. It's something I'd have to ask the CGI department. Percy then goes to Olympus, and the story can pretty much end the same way from here, except the gods look much different. I want them each to have a very distinct look so I can recognize them. Percy talks to the gods, Poseidon has a heart-to-heart, Sally is returned, and Percy goes to live in Camp Half-Blood. But in my version, Annabeth and Percy kiss. We're all adults here, just give me some conclusion to their romance, not this implication of more. There's not like 5 more books to do this, just smush.
We got songs about smushing, songs for smushing too.
So that is my version of the Percy Jackson movie. Now obviously I only gave a general outline, there would be much more substance of like the trio bonding, but I didn't want to make this video like 4 hours long describing it shot by shot. I tried balancing the movie itself while making it more book accurate, but I'm not sure how I did. Is it better? Maybe you think it's worse. I don't know, what would you change? I weirdly felt like the movie had good energy but really bad execution, so hopefully my changes would not have only made it more accurate to the books, while not completely accurate, but also kept the momentum of the story. I'm going to be making another video on Percy Jackson, the second movie, which is honestly trash. Like, in a weird way I enjoy the first one, it's like dumb fun watch, but the second one is just terrible. So it should make a fun video for you and an angry afternoon of hate watching for me. Either way, go watch my book versus TV show video where I discuss what changes they made, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Otherwise, have a great day and see you in the next video.